Did you know that over 300,000 jobs have vanished across Australia in just the first half of 2025? Major industries are collapsing, skilled workers are being laid off overnight, and international graduates are being left with no career path, just empty promises and rising debt. What's going on? Has Australia's once stable job market finally cracked beyond repair? If you're working in Australia, studying here, or even planning to migrate soon, this video might be the wake-up call you didn't expect. Behind the sunshine and skyscrapers, something is brewing, and it's not good. We're talking about mass layoffs, AI replacing entire teams, visa nightmares, and a shocking rise in people voluntarily leaving the country because they simply can't survive here anymore. But this isn't just about doom and gloom. It's about what you need to know now to protect your future. Stick with us. You'll be glad you did.
Number 10. Brain drain. The talent exodus. Have you noticed how many highly skilled professionals are suddenly leaving Australia, not just for travel or study, but for good? This isn't a coincidence. What we're seeing in 2025 is a full-blown brain drain, where Australia's brightest minds and most talented workers are heading overseas in search of better opportunities. And the trend is only growing. Recent reports show that more than 70,000 skilled workers have left the country in the past year alone, the highest figure in over a decade. Doctors, engineers, software developers, and academics are packing up, not because they want to, but because staying simply doesn't make sense anymore. Wages are higher abroad, the cost of living is lower, and career growth is faster. Countries like Canada, Germany, and the UAE are welcoming them with open arms, offering higher salaries, fast-track visas, and greater work-life balance. But the real shocker? Even Australians born and raised here are choosing to leave. Many say they feel undervalued, overworked, and increasingly shut out of the job market due to automation and outsourcing. For international migrants, the situation is even more complex. With shifting visa rules and limited pathways to permanent residency, loyalty to Australia is being tested like never before. So, what does this mean for you? If you're still holding out hope that things will improve, it might be time to seriously evaluate your options. Are you prepared for what's coming next? Are you building skills that are in demand globally, not just locally? Let us know in the comments. Have you thought about leaving Australia? Or are you still trying to make it work? Your story might help someone else. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our video on top 5 countries hiring foreign talent in 2025, linked right here on the screen.
Number 9. Decline in global investment. Behind the job cuts, falling wages, and business closures lies a deeper issue that's shaking the foundation of Australia's economy: a sharp decline in global investment. Once seen as a top destination for international business, Australia is now facing a quiet but dangerous shift. Foreign investors are pulling back, and new investment deals are drying up fast. In 2025, foreign direct investment, FDI, in Australia has dropped by nearly 30% compared to just 2 years ago. That's billions of dollars in lost opportunities, cancelled projects, and vanished job prospects. Why? Rising operational costs, strict regulatory policies, political instability, and a weakening Australian dollar have all made the country a less attractive option for global corporations. Add to that a shortage of skilled labour, and you have a perfect storm for economic slowdown. This decline doesn't just affect large multinational companies, it hits everyone. When fewer foreign companies set up shop in Australia, there are fewer new offices, fewer startup incubators, and fewer job openings across sectors like tech, finance, healthcare, and engineering. Local businesses, which often rely on overseas partnerships and supply chains, are feeling the ripple effects too. Startups, once booming in cities like Melbourne and Sydney, are now struggling to raise capital. International investors are choosing safer, more profitable markets in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and North America. And as global funding dries up, innovation slows and job creation stalls, leaving many Australians and migrants with nowhere to go but sideways or backwards in their careers. What's especially troubling is how quiet this collapse is. Unlike mass layoffs or political headlines, the decline in investment happens behind closed doors until it's too late. But the impact is real, and it's already affecting your chances of landing, or keeping, a job in Australia today.
Number 8. Shrinking public sector jobs. For decades, public sector jobs in Australia were seen as the gold standard: stable, well-paid, and secure.
Whether it was a role in education, health, transport, or administration, government jobs offered long-term certainty in an often unpredictable job market. But in 2025, that sense of security is crumbling fast. In response to economic pressures, budget deficits, and shifting political priorities, federal and state governments are now implementing widespread cuts to the public workforce. More than 15,000 public sector positions are projected to be eliminated this year alone. Departments that were once expanding are now downsizing, consolidating, or outsourcing operations to private firms. From local councils to national agencies, no area seems immune. These cuts are not just happening quietly behind office doors, they're affecting essential services. Hospitals are being forced to operate with fewer staff, public schools are merging due to lack of funding, and infrastructure projects are being delayed or scrapped entirely. The ripple effect is huge. Not only are jobs disappearing, but the quality of services Australians rely on is also declining. What's more troubling is that hiring freezes and job competition have intensified. Even where roles still exist, the number of applicants has surged, making it harder than ever to break into the public sector. And for international graduates or skilled migrants hoping to land government positions, the path has become nearly impossible, with priority often given to citizens amid shrinking availability. This trend is also accelerating a shift toward temporary contracts and short-term projects, replacing once permanent roles with uncertain gig-style arrangements. For many, the dream of a long-term, stable government job is becoming just that, a dream, and without strategic interventions or new investment in the public workforce, this decline could worsen, leaving thousands without the very foundation they thought would support them. Number 7, decline in graduate opportunities. For years, young people were told that getting a university degree was the key to unlocking a stable and successful career. But in 2025, thousands of graduates across Australia are finding out the hard way that a degree is no longer a guaranteed ticket to employment. The job market has become so saturated and so unpredictable that even top-performing students are being pushed into low-paying, unrelated roles just to make ends meet. According to recent data, only 35% of international graduates in Australia are securing jobs in their field of study within 6 months of finishing their degrees. That number is even lower for certain industries like journalism, creative arts, and environmental sciences. Even fields that once had high demand, like business and IT, are now flooded with applicants, while actual openings are shrinking due to hiring freezes and automation. The problem isn't just about job availability, it's also about experience expectations. Employers are increasingly demanding 2 to 3 years of practical experience even for so-called entry-level roles. For new grads, this creates a frustrating catch-22. You need a job to get experience, but you need experience to get a job. Meanwhile, unpaid internships and underpaid casual contracts have become the norm, offering little in the way of real career progression. International students face an even tougher battle. Many arrive with high hopes, invest heavily in education, and graduate into a market that offers limited post-study work options, especially with changing visa rules. For them, the dream of building a long-term life in Australia often ends in disappointment. The decline in graduate opportunities isn't just affecting individuals, it's creating a national crisis. A highly educated, underutilized workforce leads to lower productivity, higher mental health issues, and a loss of talent to other countries that are more eager to welcome young professionals with open doors. Number 6, rise of contract and gig work. Australia's job market is undergoing a major transformation, and not necessarily for the better. In 2025, the rise of contract-based and gig work has dramatically reshaped how people earn a living. What used to be a workforce built on full-time employment with benefits is now shifting towards short-term contracts, freelancing, and app-based jobs that offer flexibility but little to no security. From tech and marketing professionals to delivery drivers and healthcare workers, more Australians are being pushed into temporary or casual roles, often without paid leave, superannuation, or job protection. This trend is no longer limited to side hustles or students looking for part-time income. It's becoming the new normal, even for highly qualified professionals. Many companies are deliberately avoiding long-term hires to cut costs and reduce liability, preferring to hire workers on a per-project basis. While this may suit some, for most, it creates a cycle of financial instability and constant job hunting. A recent survey found that over 45% of workers under 35 are now in non-permanent roles, many juggling multiple gigs just to stay afloat. This shift also comes with hidden downsides. Gig workers are rarely protected by traditional workplace rights, meaning no sick leave, no unemployment benefits, and little recourse if work dries up. And as more people compete for the same pool of short-term opportunities, wages are driven down, making it harder to earn a sustainable income. Technology platforms have accelerated this trend, making it easy for companies to outsource work on demand. But while the apps promise flexibility, the reality for many workers is one of uncertainty, burnout, and underpayment. The gig economy may seem modern and dynamic on the surface, but beneath that shiny exterior lies a growing problem that threatens long-term job stability for an entire generation. Number 5. Collapse of the construction sector. Australia's construction industry, once a pillar of the national economy, is now facing a dramatic and unsettling collapse. In 2025, what was once a booming sector filled with cranes, new developments, and endless job ads has turned into a landscape of stalled projects, bankrupt companies, and thousands of unemployed workers. The scale of this downturn is unprecedented, and its effects are being felt far beyond the construction sites. Over the past 18 months, more than 1,600 construction companies across Australia have gone into administration. Major developers, including household names, have folded under the pressure of rising material costs, labour shortages, delayed government contracts, and higher interest rates. Builders who were once booked out for months are now struggling to find clients, or work at all. The collapse isn't just hitting tradies. Architects, engineers, project managers, surveyors, and suppliers are also caught in the fallout. Entire supply chains have broken down, with small subcontractors left unpaid and out of pocket. Regional towns that relied heavily on infrastructure projects for economic survival are seeing rising unemployment and declining local economies. Compounding the problem is the ongoing housing crisis. Despite a desperate need for affordable homes, the construction industry is too weak to meet demand. Projects are being paused, scaled back, or abandoned completely. This mismatch is creating a ripple effect. Less construction means fewer jobs, higher living costs, and less movement in the broader economy. For international workers and migrants who built careers in trades, engineering, or construction management, the situation is particularly dire. Visa-linked jobs are vanishing, apprenticeships are drying up, and future prospects look bleak. What was once a reliable and in-demand IELTS is now one of the most unstable, leaving many to wonder whether there's still a future in building Australia from the ground up. Number 4. Tightening of skilled migration pathways. For decades, Australia has attracted skilled migrants from around the world with the promise of opportunity, stability, and a clear pathway to permanent residency. But in 2025, that path has become narrower, steeper, and far more uncertain. The Australian government has introduced a series of strict immigration reforms, making it significantly harder for skilled workers to enter, remain, or settle permanently in the country. One of the biggest changes is the constant shifting of occupation lists. Roles that were once in high demand are suddenly removed or reclassified, leaving thousands of hopeful migrants in limbo. Many applicants have invested years and tens of thousands of dollars into qualifications, visa applications, and relocation, only to find out that their profession no longer qualifies under new rules. Even those already working in Australia are being impacted, as transitional arrangements are either delayed or scrapped altogether. In addition, processing times for visas have become longer and less predictable. Cases that used to take months are now dragging on for over a year, with minimal communication from immigration authorities. At the same time, stricter English language requirements, tighter health checks, and higher financial thresholds are shutting out otherwise qualified candidates. International graduates, once a major pipeline into the skilled workforce, are also feeling the squeeze. The number of post-study work visas granted has dropped significantly, and the path from student to skilled migrant is increasingly unclear. Many now face the harsh reality of having to leave the country after graduation, despite having studied and worked in Australia for years. All of this has led to a growing sense of frustration and disillusionment. Skilled workers who would once have contributed to Australia's economy long-term are now turning to countries like Canada, Germany, or New Zealand, where the migration pathways are more transparent and achievable. Number 3. Skyrocketing cost of living. If there's one issue affecting nearly every person living in Australia right now, it's the explosive rise in the cost of living. In 2025, Australians are paying more for almost everything, from groceries and fuel to rent and utilities. and wages are simply not keeping up. The pressure on households is so intense that even full-time workers are finding it harder to afford basic necessities. For many, it feels like they're working just to survive, not to live. Rent prices in major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane have surged by over 20% in the past year alone. A one-bedroom apartment in inner-city Sydney now costs more than $700 a week, and that's not including bills. Groceries have also jumped, with the price of essentials like bread, milk, and meat climbing at their fastest rate in decades. Utility bills, transport costs, and insurance premiums are all rising simultaneously, creating a perfect storm for financial stress. What's worse, wages have remained largely stagnant, particularly in public service, education, retail, and hospitality. Many workers are being stretched thin, forced to take on second jobs, reduce spending, or rely on credit just to get through the month. The middle class is shrinking, and for international students or newly arrived migrants, the situation can be even more challenging due to limited work rights or underemployment. The rising cost of living is also changing how people view their future in Australia. Young families are putting off home ownership indefinitely. Skilled professionals are questioning whether it's worth staying. Even long-time residents are considering relocation to more affordable regional areas or leaving the country altogether. This isn't just about rising prices. It's about how the everyday cost of surviving in Australia is eroding quality of life, increasing mental health pressures, and pushing people to reconsider whether the Australian dream is still worth chasing. Number 2, AI and automation wiping out jobs. In 2025, one of the most disruptive forces in Australia's job market isn't a recession or government policy, it's artificial intelligence and automation. What once sounded like a distant future is now a very real present. Across industries, machines and algorithms are rapidly replacing tasks that were traditionally done by humans, and the impact is being felt from entry-level workers all the way up to seasoned professionals. Customer service roles are now dominated by AI-powered chatbots that operate 24/7 without breaks or pay. Administrative assistants are being replaced by smart scheduling tools. Even professions once considered safe, like law, journalism, accounting, and healthcare, are seeing tasks automated by machine learning and advanced software. One study by CSIRO predicts that up to 40% of Australian jobs could be automated by 2030, and the effects are already visible today. The speed at which companies are embracing automation has caught many off guard. Businesses are under pressure to cut costs and boost efficiency, and AI offers a solution that's fast, scalable, and doesn't come with sick leave or superannuation. But while it may be good for the bottom line, it's creating an employment crisis for workers who suddenly find their roles obsolete or their skills outdated. What's even more challenging is that many displaced workers aren't being retrained quickly enough. Reskilling programs exist, but they often lag behind technological advancements. As a result, many people are being left behind, particularly in lower-income communities where access to education and digital tools is limited. The rise of AI isn't just changing how we work, it's changing who gets to work at all. And unless there's a massive push toward retraining and digital literacy, Australia's workforce may find itself divided between those who work with AI and those who are replaced by it. Number 1, surge in mass layoffs. One of the clearest and most alarming signs of Australia's job market collapse in 2025 is the surge in mass layoffs across both the private and public sectors. What started as isolated redundancies in tech companies has now evolved into a widespread pattern affecting banks, retail chains, construction firms, media outlets, education providers, and even government departments. No industry is immune, and no job feels safe. Major corporations like Telstra, Westpac, and Qantas have all announced thousands of job cuts in the past 12 months. In the tech sector alone, more than 25,000 roles have been slashed since early 2024, a trend that's expected to continue as companies restructure to survive in a volatile economy. Many of these cuts are not just trimming the fat, they're dismantling entire departments. Marketing teams, HR divisions, and support services are being downsized or outsourced at an alarming rate. Even worse, layoffs are often happening without warning, leaving workers scrambling with little to no severance support. Casual and contract workers, who make up a growing portion of the workforce, are the most vulnerable, usually let go first and offered the least protection. The result is a growing sense of instability and fear, especially among mid-career professionals who once thought their jobs were secure. The psychological toll is also becoming a serious concern. Workers who survive the cuts are often left with heavier workloads, increased pressure, and lower morale. Job seekers, on the other hand, are entering a crowded market where competition is fierce, salaries are lower, and positions are fewer. Some are even leaving their industries entirely in search of stability elsewhere. This surge in layoffs isn't just a temporary dip. It's part of a larger, more concerning shift in how work is valued and distributed in Australia. And for many, the question now isn't if their job will be affected, but when. Australia's job market in 2025 is facing a storm, and it's not just passing through. From mass layoffs and skyrocketing living costs to the tightening of skilled migration and the silent exit of foreign investors, the signs are clear. The employment landscape is shifting in ways we've never seen before. What was once a land of opportunity is now becoming increasingly uncertain, especially for skilled migrants, young graduates, and workers in vulnerable sectors. But this isn't about panic, it's about preparation. The information we've covered today isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to open your eyes to the reality unfolding around us. If you're living in Australia, planning to migrate, or simply trying to survive in this changing economy, being aware is your first line of defense. You need to understand what's happening, adapt your skills, and start thinking globally, not just locally. Opportunities do still exist, but they may no longer be where you expected them to be. Remote work, international relocation, and cross-industry skill shifts are becoming the new path forward. Waiting for things to return to normal might not be a viable strategy anymore. The truth is, Australia's job market is not collapsing overnight. It's eroding slowly, piece by piece. And those who see the warning signs early will be the ones best equipped to pivot, evolve, and protect their future. So take this knowledge and use it. Reassess your career strategy. Research global trends. Upskill where you can. Because in this new reality, survival will depend on adaptability and action.